Hi! Welcome back to my video. Yes, we're back from another trunk or treat. That's right, we had two weekends in a row. In this video, I will be finishing off my magical readathon book reviews, finally, and talking about the books that I finished for Threadmate. I was also kind of corrected in my first video and told, hey, you can't double up on books anymore for this semester. That was now finally dubbed illegal. So I used a whole bunch of points to get extensions and added 3 books in, and in fact managed to finish the entire readathon legally. Let's get to the books. And now all that's left of my class is for Threadmate. I already read the first spell I needed for alchemy, which was Chemical Breakdown. I read one to make me feel lusty. Quite frankly, Beautiful Beast could have done a little more on that front, given that it's a Y choose, but I will forgive Devin Sinclair because she is my favorite author of that genre. Next, I need to read Component Reconstruction, a book that was traditionally published after being self-published. We love to see it. I read The Atlas Six by Olivia Blake. If you don't know what this is about every reader's wildest fantasy coming true. That's right, the Library of Alexandria. She didn't burn, she faked her death. And now, of course, only the most powerful, and by which I mean most magical people, get to enjoy her all they want after they study there for 2 years and, you know, pass some trials. And it turns out, while 6 people get to enjoy, like, the program there every, 10 years or so, unfortunately only 5 will be accepted. So what happens to the 6? So Atlas is the guy who goes and asks these 6 wonderful people to go join him and be his little class and do their studies and their projects there and compete viciously against one another for these 5 spots. We get the points of view of all 6 of the potential candidates, which is super fun. And in this edition of the book, we actually get little portraits of all of them, which I thoroughly enjoyed, although I don't think every single chapter shows you the person who's beginning to narrate, which threw me. I could be wrong, but I swear that happened at least once, or I was just really tired that night. Unsure. I'm really glad I started listening to this one on audiobook because the narrators were great and each different character had a different narrator, and I don't think I've gotten to experience an audiobook like that before. So if you're thinking about picking it up, I definitely recommend that. It made the parts of the book just fly by, and the narrators were great and just gave so much life to the characters. And this book really needed that in some spots. So parts of it were really great. I loved the opening. We open with Nico and Libby, and they are at their big fancy college graduation, and they're talking about what they're doing afterwards. They are snarking back and forth. They were the top boy and top girl, always fighting it out, always pushing each other. They had 10 times more magic than anybody else. They are the most powerful people by far at their college. They never would have accomplished as much if they hadn't pushed each other, but you know what I mean. Basically, it's Dramione, okay? And if you don't know what that is, it's Draco and Hermione coded. For everyone who ever shipped those 2, please enjoy these 2 because it is what they are. I am convinced, you will never convince me otherwise, that this is not just Dramione fanfiction, at least for the first little while. Here's my thing. I was really enjoying the audiobook, and then I sat down and started reading it, and I was fine for a while ish, but I feel like somewhere in the middle part of the book with when it got picked up, they forgot to revise and edit part of it for the traditional publisher. Part of it just stuck out to me as just oh no, this is not that great. It felt like it was trying so hard to emulate the dark academic everything. The language, the vibes, the stakes, the just overall opulence, but also irreverence and just intelligence, everything from Donna Tartt's A Secret History. It felt like The Imitation Game. That's how it was feeling for a large part of the book. It's better as an audiobook because the writing just feels like it's trying to imitate Donna Tartt and it's very derivative and it's just not that great. It just felt like it was trying too hard, and I wish it had tried a little less hard and been its own thing, and Olivia Blake had just let it stand on its own, because I liked the characters, I liked the powers, I liked the magic system, I liked all of the Greek references and the idea. I almost felt called out when they were talking about how the tragedy of the library burning down and how that knowledge was lost. And I was oh my god, I do hate that. I think about that. Imagine if Bunny had tried to be The Secret History. It would have been ruined, and I hated Bunny, by the way, but I know it was 5 stars and brilliant. This might have been 5 stars and I could have possibly even loved it. And then the twist at the end was pretty fantastic. Did not see that coming. If you did, you had a freaking crystal ball, and I would like you to tell me my future, please. That was pretty great and definitely changed everything. So yes, I do want to read the next book because what? And you know what? It is the first book, and sometimes with the first book, it's not the greatest writing, and then the second book is so much better. So that's my hope. I liked the characters, I liked the world, the magic was great, the premise was great, but I wish the writing didn't feel like it was trying so hard, because that's not fun to read. I don't want to see the work. Like, I just want to read it, okay? Next up, for spells and incantations, I had to learn a charm. Dancing Stars. For this, I needed to read a 5-star prediction, and for this, I chose Fyrebirds, which is the sequel to Nightbirds. Now, this was on NetGalley and available as an ARC, and I was like, why are you available as an ARC? And then I saw that they had changed the cover to match the new cover, and I was like, oh boy, did this not do well? No, it didn't do well. Apparently, no one's read this book, so no one's listening to me, which is really sad. Listen to me. So I did reread this entire book, which is 500 pages. I forgot that. I wanted to see if anything had changed because I was going to be really upset if it was, and now I wish that something had been changed because I realized there is a scene in this that the author struggled to write. This big, really dramatic, really action-heavy sequence with a ton of moving parts and a ton of people and lots of magic, and you could see her having trouble writing it because I had trouble reading it and picturing it, so that was a struggle. And also when all the Nightbirds are separated for a bit towards the end, it's not as good. Much like the Nightbirds' magic, they are stronger together, and the writing is stronger when they are all together as well. So that's my only criticism for this book. But this is about a town called Simta where magic is illegal, sort of. If you're rich, the rules don't apply. So it's just like our world. Maybe there's magic and I don't know about it because I'm not rich enough. I spend all my money on books, which are kind of like magic, so close enough. Nightbirds, in case you are wondering what they are these lovely girls who are born with magic in them. So how that can be illegal, I'm not sure, but there is a religious uprising that is totally against magic that is trying to make them illegal and persecute them anyway. So they are becoming Nightbirds at a very dangerous time. What they can do is share their magic with someone with a kiss, which is a really fun concept, but it cannot be stolen. That kiss has to be given freely. So we all know how this would go otherwise. So thank God K.J. Armstrong was smart enough to put that caveat in there. They work in a house, and for the right price, their kisses can be bought. After they have served in these houses for long enough, they are granted the best possible husbands. If you're born to a poor family, this is your family's ticket out of poverty forever. And that is the case for one of the birds, although she's terrified of her magic. And thinks it might be a sin. Another one of the birds, well, she leaves her gang to be a Nightbird. She's a fun one. And then one of the birds is already wealthy, but you know what? She's a little rebellious and doesn't feel like getting married quite yet anyway, so perfect. Go be a Nightbird. Kiss a bunch of guys and girls. No discrimination here. Have a fun year. Things are a little different this year, though, because did I mention there was a massive religious uprising that was trying to eradicate the world of all magic, thinks Nightbirds are bad, and oh, there's also this huge political uprising and all sorts of tension in the kingdom there. And then their magic is kind of doing weird things too. So it's a lot. The world is amazing. This is jazz age. It's about to bust open and be free. The writing is fantastic. It's lush. It's opulent. It's just decadent and delightful. The characters are pretty darn well developed. They all have their own romances. And for two of them, you're not sure who the romantic interest is going to be for a while. There's a lot of moving pieces and parts because you have the religious movement, the magic, the way it's functioning, the new lore with the Nightbirds. Then you have all the political machinations. You meet effectively the leader of the country, you meet the prince. Everything happens in this book. Delicious, atmospheric, feminist delightfulness. Just pick it up. And then we get to Fyrebirds, my 5-star prediction. Oh. So this ended the duology, and it's 200 pages shorter than the first book, which should have been my first warning sign. I didn't know this was going to end the duology. Picking this up and seeing the length, I assumed there was going to be another one after this, quite frankly. It felt like the author lost all of her confidence, and what happens in the beginning is that our main birds are all separated, and they all have their own stories and their own issues that they need to fix before they can come back together, and it does make absolute perfect sense. And they could all carry their own stories. That could have been its own book, quite frankly. Just 3 parts, them dealing with their own stuff. Instead, it was shortened and truncated and almost felt like the author wasn't that interested in what was going on or didn't want to fully develop it or wanted to rush through it. And you felt that. Like, you felt that. You went through each of the characters, but multiple times. Like, at least maybe if you had just had the 3 parts all together, it wouldn't have felt so rushed and jarring. It did not flow well at all. And then when they finally get back together, the author is attempting to do so much. We need to deal with this whole magical thing, which has become so much bigger than you can imagine. Then we have the political uprising. When you realize who is involved and what's going on with that and the history of it, that is a massive thing as well and needs so much more attention. And then the political thing, that needed so much more too. I'm not even sure I fully understood exactly how all that worked out with the seats and how the religious organization was involved, because it was all rushed. The whole thing from start to finish was so rushed. This should have at least been a 500-page book, at least. And quite frankly, I could have seen it being 2 books. I don't know what happened. I don't know if because the first book didn't do particularly well, the author lost her confidence and shortened it and tried to push it out faster, or condensed 2 books into one. I don't know what happened. The ideas are still there. The actual words on the page are good, but it lacked the magic of the first book, and quite frankly, it was just kind of a mess. I was so disappointed. And what kills me is not that I just wanted it to end, I just wanted more, which is so sad. This was a rough end for Nightbirds. And knowing how it ends, raving about the first book now, it's so hard because, oh, it deserves so much better. It deserved so much better. Now for the book that I have chosen to match, we've got The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. I've been looking forward to this book from the moment it came out. I was like, please be good, please be good, please be good. It is about a woman who works in a library, and when the rebellion reaches her door, she's like, this is not good. Hey Kaz, my magically sentient spider plant friend, let's go escape to my old hometown. It's an island far, far away from all this fire, and save as many books as we possibly can, because librarian books love. So she does just that, and off they sail, and they get there, and they go to her parents' old house that they've passed, sadly, but like the house is still technically hers. They passed it on to her, and it's a little rickety, it's a little dusty, a little rough there, but it's standing. It's an edifice in which you can reside. Dish. They get it cleaned up, and lo and behold, she's not there for long when her neighbor shows up, and she thinks he's gonna murder her a little, but he's not. He's just there to offer help and like, do you need food and like assistance? And she's like, go away, this is an invasion of my privacy. What are you doing? You're all handsome, strong, get out. But eventually she realizes she needs things like, I don't know, money, food. She does one teeny itty bitty little spell, which is super freaking illegal. What you gonna do? To like grow some stuff so she has food and can make jam. That's what she's gonna do. It's gonna be a jamstress. Yes, it's a Gilmore Girls reference. If you love Gilmore Girls, you'll probably love this book. She does that. She's growing jam, and then she realizes, you know, people really need a little magic. The jam store. It's a cover. Yeah, she's really selling spells. So, the Spellshop. Oh my god, this is my cottagecore dream book. It's perfection. Everything about it is perfection. Bantering back and forth, being this like sarcastic, delightful amazingness. I knew, like 2 pages in, I was like, yes, they're dynamic, amazing, fantastic. This feels like me and my friends snarking back at one another in college. Like, oh my god, I love this so much. Yes, please, this is amazing. This is not the place to look for spice and stuff. This is cozy, cottagecore comfort read. The ultimate comfort read. Just that there's like making spells to like heal trees and like try and make like the local wildlife healthier, and covering her house in like brambly bushes and berries. And like, this is cottagecore perfection. This is cozy fantasy at its finest. I just ate this up. I loved every minute I was in this world. I'm so glad I heard the author's writing a sequel, and I'm pretty sure it's set in this world. Everything about it was just delightful. It's friendship and comfort and jam and coziness and like seaside delightfulness, and it's just everything you could want. This is, I'm having a terrible day, I need a hug. This is your hug. This is that book. There were problems, there were like things that needed to be solved, but they were like the little problems that like, it's gonna be okay, she's gonna fix it, and like, there's no blood, there's no fighting of that kind, there's nothing there, like everything just, the stakes were never too high. It was, well, I mean, there were high stakes at times, but you knew it was gonna be okay. And yes, I just loved everything about this with my whole heart. Like, as soon as she went into town and was like, huh, yeah, the cats are all sunbathing on roofs, the flying cats, I was like, I'm gonna love this. I did. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 stars. I wholeheartedly adored this book. Oh my god. And then I had to read a title that has all the letters in my name for Inscription, Arts of Decipher Spell. Boy, was this a fun one to find on my shelves. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, this was not fun at all. Finally, I found this beautiful edition of The Poisons We Drink by Bethany Baptiste. And oh my god, the description for this is so interesting. So this is about a girl who lives in a world where, it's a rough world. She's brewing spells, but they have this terrible price, okay? But it's how she's keeping her family afloat, okay? She doesn't really have much of a choice. And then one day her mom gets murdered. There's like a bullet, an iron bullet, that's how you kill witches. And now she really needs to make sure she's doing her job, because it's up to her to take care of her sister. Fun times. Brewing potions, by the way, okay, is not only like super physically painful, it is also super, super illegal. And I mean like forever in jail, or don't want to get caught doing this. The head of her local coven is like, hey, how would you like revenge for what happened for your mom? All you have to do is brew some potions for me. Those potions, by the way, we're just gonna kind of control the minds of some politicians in Washington, D.C. That's the premise of this book. To be reading it right now, oh my god, right? Here was my opinion on this book. When Bethany Baptiste outlined this, like, to write this book, fantastic. Amazing. Why haven't we heard this before? Magic is a finite resource. The cost for it is super high, so you know you have to be super, super careful. There are absolute limitations. No one's just running around using it willy-nilly. Okay, all those potions, they have major high prices that someone has to pay. The familiars, I've never seen familiars quite in this way. Little horrifying, I'm not gonna lie, but really unique and interesting and different. That was incredibly well done. The familial interactions, like, I have to give her points for that. They were pretty terrific. All of the political stuff going on, that was pretty great. And the politics in her own magical world and the hierarchies there. There were so many layers to this book. The potion ingredients, how they functioned, everything was so unique and interesting. I loved it all. It was great. My problem was with the writing itself. That is what let this book down, which I hate to say and I hate to see. But it was just bad. Like, I needed this book to be more adult, and that's purely an opinion thing. But the writing itself was just incredibly bland and choppy. It needed to be more elevated. It was trying to write an incredible story that could have been so powerful, and it couldn't do it. Like, I'm gonna show you a page, okay? Look at it. What do you notice? Do you see all the indentations? Reading this book to a certain extent was almost like reading a play, because there was so much dialogue. And even when we were getting paragraphs, they were so short and choppy. I like purple prose. I don't need purple prose, but I need some sort of sense of flow. I need some longer paragraphs in there. I need some descriptions in there. I need some sort of sense of something to keep me going. And this was just like, that I was reading like Morse code or something. Give me an adjective somewhere, my God. The writing really let this book down. The author and I also really differed in what we thought the interesting parts of the book were. The author wanted to show us like Venus continually interacting with family and friends, and some of that was strong and well done, but when that was like more what we saw and her like equivocating and having a ton of dialogue, the author was so focused on the microcosm of her life. I wanted to see the world on a macro level, okay? I wanted to see the politicians. I wanted to see the effects that these laws were having on witches. I wanted to see it zoomed out so much more because that's what was so much more interesting. I wanted to see more of the magical world. Every time we got a little tidbit of anything in the magical world, anything going on outside in the political world, that's when I perked up. That's when I was like, oh my God, that's interesting. Oh, I want to hear more about the council. Oh, I want to hear more about this vote. Oh, I want to hear more about the laws that could affect magic. Oh, I want to hear more. Like, those were the things that I thought were so much more interesting than just the mundanity, the like everyday teenager and familial nonsense. I wasn't that interested in any of that. It was such a struggle. I cannot say I recommend this one. And now, reviews for the other books that I read. How fun for you! The first one that I read was Faebound by Sarah L. Arufi, and I was unsure about this one. It's about Yiren, and she grew up on a battlefield. She works like as a warrior in a battlefield. She assumes she will die on a battlefield. Like, it's a very bloodthirsty kind of tribe she lives in, and they're always fighting with another tribe. It's super fun for everyone. Her sister Lettel, at the very least, decided, I'm not gonna be a soldier. I'm gonna try and like predict the future and be a diviner and like go about it that way. But she's not making a ton of money and she has to go to school for that. So Yiren's definitely supporting both of them. And it seems like she's just got a big break. She just got a great promotion, and on her very first day, she really screws up big time and gets herself kicked out and exiled, and now she needs to leave, and her sister goes and follows her, and what do they stumble upon? The Fae, who haven't been seen in millennia. How very curious. And they're kind of pulled into their nice, seductive little world. Now they've got their hearts on the line and their loyalties on the line. And oh, what fun it is. That is the description of this book. And it does not do the book justice at all. Like I said, I was pretty nervous. I was like, can I handle this? Is this going to be super, super violent? And there's some stuff. There's some stuff, and even the Fae, this is not like the glittering typical court like that we usually see, that European style Fae, because it definitely takes place in a world that's like reminiscent of Africa. We've got these giant beasts and jungles and some arid land, and it's pretty treacherous and dangerous, and you've got like, there's just stuff that wants to hurt you everywhere, okay? Like, you don't really want to be wandering around, and you need to pack your own water, and like, this is not a fun place, okay? Like, just, it's treacherous. But the twist that happens about halfway through the book that flips everything and tells you the whole world and everything you thought you knew about it was completely wrong. Oh my God, it's one of those books that does that, and I loved it. I ate this up. I thought this was a 5-star book. I loved it so much. I could have done with a little more of the relationships. Both her and her sister have some relationships, and I could have done with a little more build up, I think. But other than that, the writing was great. I had never read anything quite like this before. There is music magic in this. When she's going off to fight, she is using this drum, and she sends off drum fire. Okay, that is what she is fighting with. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. Maybe y'all have. It's one of those books that also starts, and I love it so much when books do this. In the beginning, there were 3 gods. It starts with the story of the world and tells you how and why there are like 3 races, the Fae, the Elves, and the humans. And there's this whole lore that slowly comes out, and this prophecy that slowly comes out. And I just ate this up. I thought it was such a well-built world, so well-crafted. You forget about the bigger part of it for a while, and then it comes back, and you're like, oh my God, that's right, you told me that! I am an idiot who forgot everything. I loved the writing. This truly felt like an adult fantasy to me. There was so much build-up. Every action had a consequence. My expectations were blown out of the water. I wasn't sure I was going to like this book at all when I picked it up, and I was just floored. I really, really, really hope that we're going to see this in the Goodreads Choice Awards, actually. Like, more people need to be talking about this. I haven't heard enough people talking about Faebound. I loved this. I also read Ruth Ware's One Perfect Couple. Thank goodness Ruth Ware is going back to her and then there were none type roots. Did anyone actually read her like weird technology assassin one? Hopefully she'll be back in the Goodreads Choice Awards this year. Because One Perfect Couple is much more what we expect from Ruth Ware. This is about Lila, who's kind of in a rut. She's working on her PhD. She's kind of stalled out, and her relationship is a little stalled out too, and so is her fiance's career. He's trying to make it as an actor. That's tough. But finally, he's like, hey, my agent got us this audition to be on the show called One Perfect Couple, and it takes place on this island, and we'll be competing against 5 other couples, and it's gonna be great exposure for me. My agent thinks this is like gonna push me to the top and make me the next big thing. And she's like, I'm a normal human. I don't look like those people on those TV shows. We're never gonna make it, but okay, I'll audition because we're never gonna make it. Of course they make it. They go, they get to the island. The very first night there's this big challenge and everyone's furious afterwards, okay? Everyone's so mad at one another. It's a disaster. Everyone goes to bed really angry, and overnight there's this massive storm. And meanwhile, all the directors and camera people and everyone except the contestants have gone back to the boat offshore. The boat's gone. They have no power. The water filtration system is destroyed. And they do have like water and food and stuff, but it's only gonna last so long. And they have no way to call for help because their cell phones were back on the boat. There's nothing. They're in big trouble. They're marooned on an island together with limited supplies. Oh, what fun. And then the killing starts. So what's really interesting is once we get to the island, there are these diary entries that are written before each chapter. And then we watch what is written in these diary entries play out on the island. And slowly but surely they start to diverge, which is really, really curious and interesting. You're like, what's going on? This is really confusing. That was an incredible way to kind of mess with us. And watching things switch from like just regular diary entries to full-on survival mode, it was intense. It was intense. I did not see the final twist coming. I am still not convinced that the main character would have survived, and who did end up surviving, like, I'm still not convinced that any of this is plausible, but I suppose if I'm reading this book, I can allow my suspension of disbelief to just listen to Ruth Ware. She's the creator of the world. I can just let it go. So sure. I think all of the interpersonal drama definitely moved fast enough, so I never ended up feeling like I was stranded or a dried out starfish on the beach. That was appreciated. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about a survival story, having never read them. I was really worried that I was going to feel like too anxious, or like I was the one who was like didn't have water and was like miserable the whole time, but it was played out really well, so things kept moving, kept going fast enough, like you felt the drama and the urgency, but there was enough interest between the characters and interpersonal drama that it wasn't just a survival story. There was enough going on with relationships and that kind of thing to make it so it wasn't just like all about the water supply and the food supply. This is your typical Ruth Ware. I was so glad to see her back. I was so glad to see her typical characters back. I was so glad to see the typical female interactions. I feel like she does female interactions and writes female friendships kind of really well. You get that like that initial mistrust and that initial jealousy, but that I want to be your friend. All the complications that come when beautiful women meet one another, I felt like she did really, really well, especially when you're on a competition show and you sense they might be eyeing your guy up or competing against you for money. I think she did that really well. Overall, Ruth Ware is just a 4-star thriller writer for me, and this was another one of those. She knows what she's doing and she does it well. I definitely don't think it's my favorite Ruth Ware, but I tore through it in like I think one sitting. Definitely a summer read. You want to feel hot, sweaty, and stranded on a beach. Read the book. You will. And last but not least, I read B.K. Borson's Mixed Signals. This is the 3rd in the Lovelight Farms series. Now, I thought for sure nothing was ever going to be the first one, because how are you going to beat winter on a Christmas tree farm? Well, you're going to write about a baker in the middle of summer who lives near the Christmas tree farm and does all the baking for the farm and apparently makes the most delicious baked goods in the whole wide world. You give me a book about a baker, I'm gonna eat it up because I love baking and I love eating baked goods. This is about Layla, who's kind of given up on love. Like, she just cannot find the right guy, and I am so glad I don't have to date because it does not sound like much fun, okay? It does not sound like much fun. She wants a guy who will give her butterflies, and like, she's not getting a moth. Like, nothing, okay? Nada. Zero zip. Terrible dates. We also have Caleb, who can't seem to get past a first date, and he really doesn't understand why. And neither can I. Aside from, I guess I believe in soulmates, and he hasn't found his yet. So the two of them hatch this plan where they're just gonna date for a month. He's gonna treat her really well, he's gonna take her on great dates, and she's gonna get to experience everything she wants, the romantic picnics and the doors being held for her and all that good stuff. And she is gonna tell him what he's doing wrong. Why can't he get past a first date? Where's the disconnect here? They know the deal, so no pesky feelings. It's perfect. Why can't they have feelings? Still haven't figured that out, and they didn't figure that out either, because I'll let you figure out how the book goes. How cute is this edition, by the way? I love this edition so much. Like, here's our picnic. Yeah. Oh my god. So, I was totally shocked when I ended up loving this more than I think I loved the first book. I loved the bakery setting. It was fantastic. The writing was better than I remember. I feel like B.K. Borson really has found her voice. It was funny and witty, and it flowed better, and the descriptions were great, and the dialogue was better. The romantic interests were better. I think the humor and the tone, it just like hits, okay? This was fantastic. These characters though, oh my god, they were so horny. Just all the lustful thoughts. You're gonna get bombarded with them from like the first page. Like, just be ready. I was not ready. Okay, Lovelight Farms from page 1, like we were talking about Christmas trees. Okay, there were Christmas trees. Here it's just like, my god, how have I never noticed him before? Until I saw him in a Hawaiian shirt. I still have questions about the taste levels here. But from like the first page, when these two see each other, it's just like, they're both instantly attracted. He's totally smitten, okay, from like day one. That's the only unbelievable thing. Like, there's nothing keeping them from being together. Like, that's the thing that killed me. Why aren't you just like dating for real from the start? That was the only confusing part, but other than that, I loved it. It was adorable. This was a fun way to play with the fake dating trope because there were no stakes. They told their friends, like, yeah, we're just kind of like going on some dates, but we're not really together. Everything was just so honest and out in the open. As far as the fake dating trope goes, it's one that I enjoy. While, like, the whole third act bit was slightly annoying, the writing was just so good. They were so funny, and their chemistry was so good, and the smut was, like, really fantastic. I have to say, I really enjoyed it. I think this is the best I've seen from B.K. Borson for sure. This was by far my favorite Lovelight Farms. Was it 5 stars? I don't know. I think it might have been, especially like the way they get together at the end. Like, it's so cute. It's so cute, so perfect for them. So I feel like this series, I'm really excited to read the next one now. Like, it's just getting better and better. So yay. But that concludes my magical readathon, which means that I read 18 plus 4, 22, or was it 19 plus 4 is 23? I don't remember how many it was total in the beginning. But I read a lot of books in September, and I found some great ones, and some ones I didn't enjoy too much, but I don't think I had any 1 stars, so I'm calling the magical readathon a total win. And that is all for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you are having a wonderful spooky season. Thank you so much for listening to my hopefully not too long book reviews. I aimed for shorter today. Did I hit the mark? I have no idea. At least I hope they were entertaining. Let me know what the best book you read was in the magical readathon. In the meantime, I will let you get back to your book, and I'll be getting back into mine, which of course is from Becca's Spookoplathon. I still have Brandon Sanderson's 1,200 something page behemoth hanging over my head. I haven't even touched it yet. Oh god. Why did I leave that? Why did I leave it till the end? But yeah, no, that's it for me. I will see you all next time. Bye.